Hey guys, welcome. Today we have a special guest in Andrew Tunks from Meteoric Resources. Andrew, welcome.
Great to be here, Philip.
Fantastic. Now, you got some exciting news out earlier this week. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so it was our first hole at the Juruena project. We started drilling in August. We got our results yesterday. About 2 weeks ago, when we completed the hole, we saw that we'd hit gold in the hole. You know, it's a pretty rare thing, but we saw that we could see the gold, the visible gold in the core, VG as we call it, and we were pretty excited about that. That generally means about 30 grams per tonne at least. If you see gold, you're typically looking at about an ounce. But we got the results back yesterday, and they blew us out of the water. 20.6 metres at 95 grams, and including a high-grade core, which was 3.65 metres at over 500 grams. So beyond my wildest belief, actually.
No, they were fantastic. When I saw them, I couldn't believe my eyes. I was like,
Mate, I was the same. I've been doing this for 25 years, over 25 years. It's the best hole I've ever drilled, from a results perspective. So, our first hole, and we drilled it in the middle of the ore body because we needed to see. It was our first hole. We needed to see the ore body was good and it was predictable, and we wanted to assure ourselves that it was good. But I didn't expect it to be that good.
Fantastic. So you're confirming the previous historic mining?
Absolutely. Yeah, there's drilling there, and we drilled into what we thought was a good zone. We changed it up a little bit. We drilled slightly oblique because we were testing a couple of ideas, and we got a great result, but I need to do some more testing, before I understand whether they are paying off. But, as I say, I couldn't believe the numbers, and in fact, this is a little bit funny, but when one of the geos was telling me, he goes, the silver numbers are so fantastic, they're in the 1,000. And I said, I don't reckon it's silver because the gold's, at this deposit, the silver's pretty low. And then he checked the column and he goes, you're right, it's the gold.
Jeez,
so,
better.
So it was a great result.
Fantastic. And what drew you to, other than being in Brazil, which would be a fantastic place to operate, what about the project in the area drew you to it?
So we'd spent nearly a year looking at projects worldwide: West Africa, Southern Africa, Asia, South America, North America, Canada. We'd look Australia. We looked at a lot of stuff. With the world exploration the way it is now, I think you've got to look at risk, right? And not risk like, is it dangerous to go there, but is it dangerous that you're not going to find something? Geological risk. So I'm happy to go somewhere that, like in this case, in central Brazil, it's in the southern end of the Amazon, it's remote, but the geological risk is low. And I think that's, if I don't find anything, then everything else doesn't matter. So I've got to find something. So everything that I do is about decreasing the geological risk of a discovery. And I'm happy to wear other risks like remote location, higher cost, difficulty, etc. in that way. And that's been my life, really. I've lived and worked in some pretty remote and hard to get to dangerous places. I think when you discover an ore body, it's worth the risk.
Absolutely, and you definitely have. Like, I remember some of the places you'll tell me where you've worked before. What's it like having worked in those places and in Brazil? Like, what's the climate there like?
Look, I actually feel Brazil's pretty good, really, and particularly out of the big cities, where I don't spend any time in the big cities, really. I might have a beer next time I go over and a bit of a celebratory drink with my boys, but the guys who are doing the work. But we're out in the bush, and out in the bush, it's completely safe. It's like anywhere in the world. When you're in the bush, you're talking to the villagers, the local miners. They're normal people trying to eke out a living in pretty tough circumstances. I don't feel that there's any risk in that sense. And it's beautiful. It's a great spot. The rivers and it's amazing.
Okay, Andrew, and you've got a fair bit of drilling going on at the moment at some of your projects. Can you run us through what's going on?
Sure. So we've got 2 diamond rigs on site at the moment. Diamond rig is the slowest and most expensive of the drilling, but when you're new at a project, you've got to suck the juice out of the information, and diamond gives you the best. It also means that you don't have any issues with smearing down the hole. You get a great sample, and you get to look at the geology in great detail, which is huge for making predictions on where to go next. So we're drilling at Donna Maria at the moment, which is one of the 3 projects that are in resource, prospects that are in resource at the moment. Next we'll go to Kerosene, and we'll do a few holes there. And we're testing out ideas, really. So we're looking at, there's been drilling there before, and we're looking at slightly changing the angles of the drill holes. We're looking at fault intersections where we see two faults, intersecting. That's a really interesting place for gold to form and high grades. So we're trying out some different ideas with our drilling and testing those ideas as we go.
So you're using your geology knowledge by the sound of it to kind of see what you can find?
Absolutely, and we've got a fantastic team. We've got a couple of PhDs on site, Klaus and Marcelo. We've got an Australian guy, Pete Sheehan, who's worked all over the world. So we've got a lot of geological experience in the team, and we all bring something a little bit different. And so we have some really robust debates about how to drill things and where to drill. And that's a great part of the process that I really enjoy.
Well, you probably want that, right? Because if everyone's thinking the same, then you probably don't need one of the guys, right?
If you've got 3 geos, you've got 4 opinions. We are never thinking the same thing, I tell you.
That's probably a good thing to have a lot of ideas. So obviously with a lot of activity going on, when can shareholders expect to see, obviously you've got news flow coming out already, what's the kind of...
Yeah, well, we're drilling now till December, right? So we're drilling at Juruena till December. We've got 2 rigs there. We're about to mobilise to our other great project, Novo Astro. We'll be there within the next week to 10 days, and then we'll drill through there to December as well. And that will mean a constant flow of results from now, probably early into 2020, as the drilling, as the results and the sampling catches up with the drilling. So we'll be releasing results every 2 to 3 weeks, right through and probably until February next year.
And your share price has been on a very good run recently. However, I noticed yesterday that there was a BRV sold $2.75 million worth of shares in your company. Can you tell us a little bit what's going on there?
So BRV, Big River Gold, were previously Crusader Resources, right? So they've had a name change. They were the guys that we bought the asset from. So when we bought the asset, Juruena, we paid $1 million in cash, Aussie dollars, and $500,000 worth of stock, which the deal was done at 1 cent. So that was 50 million shares. Now, Big River Gold, or Crusader as they were escrowed under the deal. They were escrowed for a year, but they've been running low on cash, and they were pretty keen to move that stock on, but they were escrowed, so they couldn't do anything about it. A group of investors who are known to us approached Big River Gold, independent of us, negotiated a price, right, given the market conditions and everything else, and then they agreed to a sale price. The investors and Big River Gold approached us and said, will you release us from that escrow? And we were very happy to, because the guys that we want on the register. So it all got done in one hit, which was why there was a slight reduction in the price, and we were really happy with that outcome.
So it's moved into
safe hands.
Friendly hands, yeah.
Absolutely, yeah.
And I understand you're quite excited about Novo Astro. Can you tell us why that is?
Yeah, well, when we acquired the project, to be honest, we got Juruena, and Novo Astro was sort of like the steak knives. It just came with the project. And when I first looked at it, I looked at it on the satellite image on Google Earth. It's fantastic. It's changed the world for me, how we look at things remotely. So I went straight to Google Earth and you can look at it. And what I saw was a lot of alluvial working, so workings in the old riverbeds, in the modern riverbeds even. And that gold's not of interest to us. That gold has already been eroded and put in the riverbeds, and that's not what we were after, right? We're looking for gold under the ground in the bedrock. So when I first looked at it, I wasn't that excited. But of course we acquired the project, and when we got on the ground, we got out there and we started looking, and we realised, gee whiz, there's a lot of old workings there, and there's a lot of activity there right now. There's still guys mining there, Garimperos, and they're not mining in the old rivers, they're mining in the bedrock. And so we started to look and we see, gee whiz, there's alteration, there's veining. We took some samples, we got like 300 grams, wow. There's big zones that we can see brecciation, we can see, stacked veins, argillic alteration, which is really, I know no one knows where that is, but I know what that is, and that's a good, exciting thing for porphyry copper deposits. So we saw a whole bunch of things there that indicated to us that this was not an alluvial play, that this was a real thing. It's got a giant geochemical anomaly, which we knew about. There's 5 kilometres of gold in soil anomaly. So really, I got the opportunity to raise a little bit more money. I didn't have enough money to go and drill there. About a month ago, we raised another $2.7 million at 3.2 cents, and that's funded the Novo Astro drilling campaign, and that'll start in about 10 days. And it's never been drilled. I just don't understand how that's never been drilled. I mean, in Australia, that'd have 50,000 metres in it for sure, right? A 5 kilometre long soil anomaly with past production of 500,000 ounces. Man, we drilled all those in the 1980s. So this is a great a great example of coming back and revitalising an old project and an old prospect.
Fantastic.
Very exciting.
Well, I'm sure you'll be hoping to see some more visible gold come out of the ground there.
There's every chance, I believe. I mean, based on the high grade samples that we've already taken, we think that there are some high grades. But you know, we also think that geologically it looks to be a bit deeper in the system, and the alteration zones look a bit wider than. So at Juruena, they're quite narrow and quite super high grades. Well, that's what we might get at Novo, but just to our eye, before it's drilled, we think that the zones are a bit wider, and so, you know, that's the great exploration for me is like when you grow up as a kid and it's X marks the spot. You know, I'm out there exploring. No one's ever drilled this hole. No one's ever drilled into this rock. It's been sitting there for 1.8 billion years, waiting for me to come. Right? Those rocks have never seen the light of day until we pull them out of the core hole. And as a geo, that's as exciting. I got goosebumps even thinking about that. It's one of the great joys. We look at the history of the planet, and we're about to pull something out of the Earth that's been there for 1.8 billion years.
It's pretty exciting.
It's very exciting.
It's like Kinder Surprise.
Absolutely, on a big scale. And if there's gold in it, well, away we go.
Fantastic. And it's been a great time for gold companies recently. I mean, obviously you guys are still early on, but I mean, the prospects, you know, seems to be looking good for.
Absolutely, and it has a huge bearing. You know, back in 2000, I was at a gold mine in Ghana when the gold price was $300 an ounce, and no one cared. And thank God we had production and we could still explore, and we made some more discoveries. But you know, seeing the gold price at 1,500 US, and the gold price is in record, all-time record in Brazilian real. Right? All-time record in Australian currency, all-time record in the rand.
Yep.
If you have operations in those places, that has a huge bearing on your potential success. So go the gold. I'm a huge gold bull, you know, and I love it. And who wouldn't?
Absolutely. So obviously the gold price moving in the right direction, and also with the, can you tell us a little bit about like the intersections of very thick and high grade? What does that mean for a project?
Well, you know, you will have heard anecdotally that grade is king. Right, and that just reflects back on your costs. If you have to move a ton of rock and it's got an ounce of gold in it, that's high grade, and that ton of rock is worth a lot of money. If you have to move a ton of rock and it's got 1 gram of gold in it, it's got 1/30th of that amount of money. So it's just a simple cost thing. The less rock you have to move, with more gold in it, the more money you make. So high grade deposits can be very, very profitable. They tend not to be super big in tonnes, right? And you have to mine them in special ways, but the grade usually offsets that. And certainly with the grades that we've seen at Juruena, that's our belief. We think it's a long way to go, but we think that it's potentially a very low cost project.
Well, we look forward to seeing what comes out, and we'll obviously see it. And now another question. Obviously, you've got a prediction.
Question without notice.
You'll have a prediction that obviously, hopefully, there's good results come out of the ground. And what are your predictions this weekend for the Tigers playing Geelong?
Oh, mate, I think the Tigers by 42 points over Geelong. I think we've got their measure. I think the Tigers are primed and ready to go, and I'll be there absolutely pumping them on.
Well, fingers crossed, it's good news all around for you. He's rocked up with the Richmond
got my Tigers socks on. Go the Tigers.
He's all professional. He's got the Richmond socks. Well, fantastic, Andrew. Appreciate you dropping by and filling us in with what's going on with the company, and we'll follow up later down the track.
Mate, it's a pleasure. It's great to see you.
Fantastic.
Thanks,
Thank you.